Let me tell you why you're whacked up.
All right. All right. For Judging Judy. All right.
Hello and welcome to the Judging Judy podcast, the only podcast that turns the tables on America's least favorite TV judge. This week's episode comes to us from back on April 14th, 1998. But before we jump into things, I just have a little advice. Life is a highway, and there are no rest stops for the next 39 miles. To help remind you what was going on in the world back when this episode first aired, I've brought in my friend, Professor Wikipedia, Doctorate in Stroop Waffles. The Game Boy Light, a variant of the classic Nintendo handheld, was released exclusively in Japan. An electroluminescent backlight, similar to the illumination used in digital wristwatches at the time, enabled gameplay in low light conditions for the first time without external accessories. Alternative names for the handheld included Diet Game Boy and Game Boy Zero Sugar. The first of the VH1 Divas Live concerts was held at the Beacon Theater in New York to benefit VH1's Save the Music Foundation. Performers included Aretha Franklin, Celine Dion, Gloria Estefan, Mariah Carey, Shania Twain, and Carole King. Mariah Carey sang My All and Make It Happen, making this the last time she was permitted to sing anything other than a Christmas song. Maurice Stans died. About 25 years prior, the former Secretary of Commerce under Richard Nixon pled guilty to charges that he redirected campaign money to finance the illegal Watergate operation. Stan's punishment, a paltry $5,000 fine, is part of a long-running tradition of aiding and abetting crime at the highest echelons of power in the United States that leads directly to the feted felon currently occupying the White House. Release the Epstein Files. Thanks for the help, Professor Wikipedia. Next, let's check in on the New York Times crossword for that day back in 1998. The clue for 16 across is talkative bird, and the answer is Mina. Finally, let's look at the US box office for April 14th, 1998. Number 3 was Primary Colors, number 2 was As Good as It Gets, and number 1 was Titanic. Starring Jack Nicholson, Helen Hunt, and Greg Kinnear, As Good as It Gets is about a single mother and waitress, a misanthropic author, and a gay artist who form an unlikely friendship after the artist is assaulted in a robbery. Despite its title, As Good as It Gets is only ranked 140th on Empire Magazine's Top 500 Movies of All Times list. That's it, let's get to the teaser for today's episode.
You think she's got a thing for you, Mr. Beaver? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yes, Your Honor.
You know, it's about time we learn more about Mr. Beaver's love life.
The lady says her favorite waiter is trying to take advantage of her and her husband.
They started to get suspicious right around when he kept insisting that the soup of the day was Honey Nut Cheerios.
Your Honor, there's a lot of kinky things that go on in this world. Now that looking back on it, I think there could have been something there.
I'd appreciate this line a little bit more if the guy saying it didn't look like a middle school remedial math teacher. Brillo pad, mustache, and all. All right, let's get to the case.
Party's on. Inga Bretson versus Beaver. Step forward, please.
Michelle, an executive secretary, is suing Steve, a waiter, for unpaid loans. Along with his Lhasa Apso-like facial hair, Steve brought along a long cardboard box, presumably as evidence, and now I won't be satisfied unless we get to see what's inside the box. Steve's response to Michelle's allegation is that these weren't loans. Michelle and her husband were simply rewarding him with gifts for being a good server. Now, I like my refills as much as the next guy, but I am not giving my waiter gifts, no matter how many times he tops up my glass of Diet Coke. Judy kicks us off with some background. Michelle and her husband met Steve at a favorite restaurant of theirs, and this eventually led to them giving him $800 in what are alleged to be loans. However, Michelle is suing for almost twice that amount, $1,500.
Well, that's the first thing I didn't understand.
No way. Judy was about 55 when this episode filmed, and yet she claims this was the first thing she didn't understand. Not the merits of potty training, not how to ride a bike, not the gender pay gap. Sure, Judy, whatever, we believe you. This is the first thing you didn't understand. You know, some of us still don't get potty training, okay?
It's just been really hard.
Michelle explains that the additional $700 is for punitive damages, because while she'd probably prefer to shave off Steve's mustache and make him eat it as a punishment, that's been banned in California since the 30s.
For all the stress that he has caused.
Hey, you have your reasons for wanting to shave off the guy's mustache. I have mine. We don't need to explain ourselves.
Everybody's got stress. I have stress. Bird has stress. Everybody has stress.
Here a stress, there a stress, everywhere a stress. Look, can you blame Michelle? She's on the show to make money. Sure, everybody's got stress, but only some people have the opportunity to monetize it.
Get your shoes on. It's time to get rich.
Michelle explains that they loaned Steve the money because they trusted him as a friend.
Well, how did you become friends? He was serving you pasta.
Have you never heard of Hospitaliano, Judy? Soup, salad, and mamma mia. Never mind friends. When you're Steve, you're family. Michelle explains that they kept going to the restaurant in Santa Ana where Steve worked because of his fabulous service. Michelle says that this, over time, served as the basis for their friendship and their trust in him.
That's it?
Michelle, you gotta give us something more. I don't want to side with Judy, especially so soon in the case, but it can't be that you just gave this guy $800 because, what, he had your order memorized?
I'll stick with just plain white bread, thank you very much.
Tell me he shared with you his hopes and dreams. Tell me he revealed to you some major trauma that he needed the money to make right. Tell me he recommended the tuna melt and ended up being the best sandwich of your life. There has to be something deeper here, even if it's only tuna melt deep.
On the first line, he had called my husband and asked if he can borrow some money. And my husband called me and we discussed it. And I said, yes, go ahead.
Oh, okay, I get it. Michelle she's just incapable. She's allergic to details. Tell us what he needed the money for. Tell us how much the first loan was for. Tell us how long you gave him to pay you back. I don't think the producers told you to keep your answers under 25 words, Michelle. My God, imagine just being this lady's waiter. You ask her if you can get her anything and she'd just say yes. Michelle goes on to explain that she gave her husband her credit card number so they could send Steve the money via Western Union.
It was like olden times.
So let me get this straight. You go to this restaurant all the time. You consider this guy your friend. He has your phone number. Couldn't you just bring him the cash? You're gonna get money advance fees. You're gonna get Western Union taking their fees. Just go down to Chuck E. Cheese, pull him out of the ball pit, and give him the mystery money.
So how much did you wire him this time?
$200 plus then the $40 for the wire fee.
That's right. They paid a 20% premium on top of what they gave him. And for what? Because he didn't sit them at the table next to the bathroom? Because he warned them that consuming raw or uncooked meats, poultry, seafood, shellfish, or eggs may increase your risk of foodborne illness? Michelle, I want to side with you. I want to believe you. To continue the restaurant theme, siding with Judy just leaves a bad taste in my mouth. But you're not giving me much here. And I fear at this rate, all you're going to get is your just desserts. Probably because she heard me complaining from 28 years in the future, Michelle finally has some details. She explains that Steve claimed he needed the second loan for $300 to cover a car payment and avoid repossession.
I'll have two ghosts haunting me.
Judy says that the most interesting loan, though, is the third loan. To be honest, that's a remarkably low bar given the first two. That's like saying Tulsi Gabbard is the most competent member of the second Trump administration.
He called us and said, he was being threatened by a loan shark and his family was being threatened by a loan shark because he had not paid this loan shark back.
I see now that Steve had to escalate things with each time he asked for money. Up the stakes, increase the severity. If there had been a fourth loan, I imagine he would have said it was because he needed to procure a spaceship so that he could slam it into an asteroid before it crashed into planet Earth.
So we drove all the way down to Newport Beach at a Del Taco, and Mr. Beaver met us there.
They got my wife. They got my kids. They've even got my dog. I need you to bring $300 so I can order these maniacs 649-cent tacos and do it fast. Otherwise, they say they'll want some beanie burritos too.
Judy asks if they've asked Steve for the money back, as if a guy who already had a bunch of loan sharks in a feeding frenzy over a couple of hundred fish tacos is in any position to repay his loans.
We have letters stating we've asked him back, and he said he would pay us when he gets paid, and he has still not paid us back.
However, as Judy points out, despite the letters they wrote, they have no letters from Steve acknowledging the loans. You don't get to be the #1 waiter at the Santa Ana Shakey's Pizza by writing letters all the time, if you know what I mean.
I want to lick this one like an envelope.
Since we've got nothing else to do and we're already here and the cameras are rolling, Judy takes a look at Michelle's letters.
The last page is the last demand letter we wrote to him.
Yes, I see. As per demand letter rules, you cut out all the individual letters from old issues of Sports Illustrated. Very good. We see some of one of the letters. It's truncated, some of it is obscured, and I'm not sure if it's the aforementioned demand letter, but we do learn a few things. Stephen, who during the intro we learned was 37, he lives with his mom. His mom doesn't want Michelle or her husband calling her house anymore and is probably lying on her son's behalf so that he doesn't have to talk to them. Michelle and her husband are confused because they thought he wanted to hang out and go to the aquarium with them, but has gone incommunicado. Someone named Sam might be jealous of them, and that may be why he no longer wants to be friends. Also, they want their money back. Okay. At this point, I'm going to side with Stephen because of course he doesn't want to go to an aquarium, not after what he went through with those loan sharks. It's insensitive to even suggest it. Judy turns the floor over to Stephen to hear his side of things.
Your Honor, this fabrication is a wonderful story.
Hey, I mean, there's no accounting for taste, but hard pass for me. It wasn't the worst story I've come across. I mean, I've seen Secret Life of Pets too, but I wouldn't call it wonderful. Stephen goes on to say that wonderful though it may be, it doesn't reflect how things actually happened. He starts at the very beginning of his relationship with Michelle and her husband, saying that they were initially turned over to him by a different waitress.
Because she didn't feel that she wanted to wait on them.
I asked them if they wanted a booth or a table, but they kept talking about how much fun we'd all have if we went to the aquarium. Stephen says that despite whatever misgivings the other server had, he gave Michelle and her husband the best service he could, and as a result, they had a good time and made return trips. I'm just going to assume, because no one has brought it up, that the food at this place really sucked. At Sammy Slimy Salami in Santa Ana, the food is atrocious. I mean, it ain't even food. But hey, we've got that waiter named Steve that nobody seems to be able to resist.
During the course of the year and a half that I waited on them, they began to tip me quite graciously.
Stephen goes on to say that Michelle's husband would often tip him not just on the check, but then also give Stephen extra money on the side, quote, just for him. Not for the busboy, that sniveling leech. Here's a tip for the busboy. Go wash your hair, Marvin, you sniveling leech. He says that they also sent Stephen things at work. Gift baskets, candy, cake, balloons.
Here, an electronic organizer, a Swatch Olympic collector's watch. When they went to Vegas, they brought me back gifts.
They got him all that and a Circus commemorative ashtray with real ashes still inside. And all because they needed someone to go to the aquarium with?
He has a giant sea turtle as a pet.
Stephen says he was appreciative of the crap these dumb jerks dumped on him, but that to him, they were always gifts. He never thought they expected anything of him in return. Quid pro quo, no, if you will. And now I think we're finally gonna get to see what's inside that box Stephen brought.
Can I show you this here, Your Honor?
I don't know what it is. Tell me what it is first.
Judy's just afraid there's a giant snake in there, but come on, Judy, it's barely even hissing.
An umbrella.
An umbrella.
Now, I have to admit that I, too, am a little disappointed that it's an umbrella, but I have to imagine, given the largesse of the gifts these two have bestowed upon Stephen thus far, that this can't be your normal run-of-the-mill rain-blocking umbrella. I'm thinking Mary Poppins. I'm thinking Inspector Gadget. Also, it's just occurred to me that it's very possible that these two bought all the junk for this guy from Sky Mall. They'd get on a flight from Burbank to Cabo, they'd order their Bloody Marys, and then they'd open up that Sky Mall catalog and absolutely go to town buying stuff for their favorite waiter. Foot massagers, back scratchers, label makers, a doormat shaped like B. Arthur's face. I bet this guy's got a whole storage unit in Huntington Beach full of things one can only buy after they've reached cruising altitude.
I know what an umbrella looks like.
Whew, talk about raining on our parade. Stephen puts it away, and now we'll never know what kind of magical umbrella it is. Stephen is using all of this again just to detail how generous they were to him, but Judy wants to draw a line.
We're not talking about a Swatch watch, and we're not talking about a pocket organizer. She's not suing for that.
Oh, thank heavens, because Stephen, he pawned that off years ago. It was either that or, the loan shark. And frankly speaking, Stephen had gotten quite attached to having feet, and he wasn't looking forward to having them removed.
With a spoon.
Judy recenters us on the cash loans, the last of which she errantly says happened at Taco Bell, not Del Taco. Judy, it no more happened at a Taco Bell than he was having his life threatened by a lone dolphin, okay? Anyway, Stephen again insists that everything Michelle said is a lie, a fabrication, as he puts it.
The only time I ever asked to borrow some money from them, I expressed that I did have some car repair to do.
Now, Stephen's answer, it didn't end there. I had to cut it short. But look, you didn't miss anything important. There was a part about how deep their friendship was, about how they insisted on helping him, about how he declined their help for a long time. There was a brief 2-hour intermission, there was a 15-gun salute, there was an invigorating can-can, and then a well-deserved encore can-can. And then eventually Steven said how he in fact asked them for $200, much as Michelle had said previously.
And at that time, he told me that is a gift from Michelle and I. I said, no, I feel that's too much to ask. I want to go ahead and pay you back on this my next payday.
At which point, of course, Michelle's husband insisted that if he were to pay them back, it would be more convenient if he just gave them cash instead of candy bars, but that as good friends, whatever Steven thought best was good with him. But even like a Milky Way would be better. Steven goes on to explain another incident when they called him to see if he wanted to go out for a game of pool and a beer. He says he didn't want to go out without his girlfriend, Sam, who he's brought along as a witness. I believe this is the Sam that, according to the letter we previously saw, she was the one that was feeling jealous of Michelle and her husband, no doubt in small part because she hadn't received a single umbrella from them.
I'm still invisible and now I'm all wet.
Though Steven says Michelle welcomed Steven to bring Sam along, things didn't go well.
Right from the get-go, when she and Mrs. Engelbretson met, she began to give her just looks like you wouldn't believe. She didn't like her. She was rude to her throughout the evening.
Ladies, there's enough mustache to go around. Actually, I think we can all agree there's more than enough. It's way too much mustache.
We've got to get rid of it.
Steven says that he and Sam skedaddled from the pool hall early, feeling uncomfortable by the whole situation. In fact, he says, the next time they talked, Steven told Michelle and her husband that the friendship was over, and all because of how they treated his girlfriend. Michelle claims that it wasn't jealousy that caused the rift. She was actually angry at Sam for how she treated Steven. And she says this friendship-ending conversation at Del Taco never happened.
Yeah, that doesn't sound logical to me.
We're remarkably late in the game to be talking about logic here, but okay, Judy.
And that was our meeting at the Del Taco that she refers to. I did not ask to borrow any money. That was our meeting there.
No, of course not. He didn't want money. He wanted 300 fish tacos for the loan shark. We've established this. There's nothing fishy about that. Steven says that at this Del Taco rendezvous, Michelle and her husband also tried to get him to work for them. And this could very well be the most exciting development in this case since the umbrella box. What business could these two possibly have had that they could use an extraordinary waiter who has money problems for?
Lion tamer.
Judy isn't swayed and seemingly doesn't want to know what they wanted to hire Steven for, which is disappointing because I'd like to think it involved dressing up as the Statue of Liberty and standing outside a tax preparation office for 2 months a year, but now we'll never know.
Well, I'm not naive, sir. Common sense does not suggest to me that one person would have to meet to discuss the fact with really virtual strangers that they don't want to be their friend anymore.
Regardless of whose story you believe, these folks don't seem like virtual strangers. I'm virtual strangers with my mailman. I'm virtual strangers with my father. I wouldn't lend either of them any money, and neither of them have my phone number. Frankly speaking, my mailman could be my father, and I wouldn't know. Steven, Michelle, and her husband, I don't know what they are, but I don't think it's virtual strangers.
Not in this case. Not in this case. And we were born, by this time, now you have to remember, this is a year and a half of her coming in and me waiting on them. At this time, it had become a friendship.
Now, I don't know if it warranted a breakup at Del Taco, and I think Steve's a weirdo. But this time he's right. Even weirdos can be right now and again. How else would you explain ABBA?
There was something more wanted out of this relationship. Like for the day that she appeared in the parking lot of where I worked and said, I broke up with Joe now. Why don't you call me someday and we can do lunch?
This sounds like yet another excuse to meet up at Del Taco, if you ask me. Steven says that Michelle has even taken a new job near where he works, suggesting she did so to be closer to this mustachioed macho man, this hairy-lipped Lothario, this whiskery Don Juan.
You think she's got a thing for you, Mr. Beaver? Is that what you're trying to tell me?
Yes, Your Honor.
You think that Mr. Engelbretson had a thing for you, too?
Mm-hmm. Well, Your Honor, there's a lot of kinky things that go on in this world. Now that looking back on it, I think there could have been something...
That would explain why each time Michelle and her husband lady and tramped some spaghetti, they asked him if he wanted to get in on it. But it's just a real logistical challenge, The world is still waiting for the three-sided spaghetti to accommodate polyamorous couples.
One day.
Done with the nonsense and unwilling to consider this romance angle despite me naming the whole episode after it, Judy rules in favor of Michelle for $840. Undeterred, Steven goes back to listing the things he got care of Michelle by way of Sky Mall.
They gave me a CD stereo player. They gave me clothing. They gave me CDs. They gave me gift certificates.
Look, and I'll get into this more in my verdict, I think he probably owes them the money. But there is something else going on here. It shouldn't necessarily have any bearing on the case, but no one goes on a shopping spree for their favorite waiter unless they're after something more than just an extra fork because the first one fell on the floor.
Let me tell you why you're whacked up.
Me? I'd prefer not to hear a single thing about Steven whacking it up.
Nobody does.
In Steven's parting words, we finally hear from his girlfriend, Sam.
She's lying through her teeth because this is the only way she can get close enough to him.
You know, besides going to the restaurant where he works and has served her for 18 months, the guy's not a hermit. He's not Luke Skywalker hanging out with the CGI puffins. She knows exactly where to find him, and she has his address from all those laser discs she bought for him.
They're sick, both her and her husband are sick. You don't get $100 gift baskets, you don't get stereos, you don't get this and that. He said there was something wrong with me. He thought I was jealous.
It does kind of sound like you were just mad because nobody ever sent you a toaster oven. Sam then goes on to insult Michelle's looks while claiming Michelle has a voracious sexual appetite, all of which suggests to me that Sam and Steven pair perfectly together, like having a plate of steaming hot sauerkraut alongside a tall glass of yesterday's Yoo-Hoo. Enjoying the pod? Consider supporting us by sending $1 or $2 our way at tiptopjar.com/judgingjudy. Or don't, whatever, I'm not your boss. For our second case, Tina is suing her ex-boyfriend Coy. She says she crashed on his motorcycle and now wants him to pay her medical bills.
Coy wants Tina to pay for the damages to the bike.
The bike is suing both Tina and Coy for straddling it with their sweaty asses all the time. We start with some background. Tina is a nurse's assistant and Coy does HVAC. We also get a picture of the motorcycle. It's red and black and presumably unemployed.
She had an accident.
Yes, she did.
You want her to pay for the damage to your motorcycle.
Correct.
No.
That's Judy's reaction, presumably, to him being a bad person and a worse ex-boyfriend. But I might add that Chiron's saying this guy's name is Coy Witt, so it could just be for his name. Coy Witt.
That's not real, by the way. That's not real.
Tina says that Coy should pay her medical bills because he didn't have insurance for the motorcycle when she crashed it.
Let us assume we lived in a kinder, gentler time and there was no insurance.
I mean, insofar as Coy is concerned, considering he doesn't have insurance, that time is 1998. But look, a kinder, gentler time. What about a kinder, gentler world? The Mushroom Kingdom? The Kanto region? Hyrule? Grand Theft Auto world? Literally any other world is kinder and gentler than the one where a TV judge yells at people for 25 years and amasses a $400 million fortune.
You knew that, right?
Judy wants to get right down to it and talk about personal responsibility, especially since Coy didn't force Tina to get on the motorcycle. The judge asked Tina to explain how it came to be that she was riding it. Tina starts at the beginning of the relationship when he first picked her up on his bike.
And I made it known to him that I've always enjoyed bikes.
Tina says Coy was eager to teach her and over the course of time showed her some of the basics. Vroom vroom. You know how it goes. However, she claims Coy let her use the bike without having actually taken her out on it and operated it with her.
What do you mean he let you?
Well, I asked him if I could take his bike and he said yes.
Judy rolls her eyes and you can practically see any chance of either of these two getting any money rolling away with them.
You, 22 years old, who takes care of the sick and elderly, right, asked him if you could take out his motorcycle by yourself.
Yes.
So she should bear more personal responsibility because of her job? She didn't take out his motorcycle with 94-year-old Janet from the home who's recovering from a stroke and needs a breathing machine. What if Tina had worked at McDonald's? Do you get a free pass on personal responsibility if you're in charge of the fry cooker instead of the infirm? I get it. Tina should have known better, but everyone should know better than to take a motorcycle out for a spin without knowing how to use it, no matter if they change bedpans or flip burgers.
Are you freaking kidding me?
Tina goes on to describe how, after 20 minutes of riding it around, she was headed back to Coy's house when she and another car both started to go at a stop sign, causing her to panic.
And I don't know if I jumped the bike or what exactly happened. All I know is that the bike fell to the left and I went to the right.
And do the hokey pokey and so on and so forth, but none of this matters. The accident could have been caused by a Sasquatch and former Labor Secretary Elizabeth Dole engaged in a no-holds-barred boxing match in the middle of the street, and it still wouldn't matter. Insofar as Judy sees it, Tina asked to take the bike out, and Coy gave her the bike to take out. No amount of cryptids or former cabinet members is going to change any of that. Tina says she had to be taken to the hospital as her leg had been sliced open.
He had told the doctors there and signed the insurance forms, signed everything, claiming responsibility.
Whoa, 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 whoa. Much like Elizabeth Dole when she said she'd knock out the Sasquatch in one round, guaranteed, I might have spoken too soon. This may shift Judy's ruling. I still feel like she wants to operate in an antediluvian world where insurance doesn't exist. But if he said he was going to pay...
I didn't sign anything, Your Honor.
I have never touched a pen, Your Honor. I am unfamiliar with the written words as such, Your Honor. I am not a carbon-based life form, Your Honor. Judy has Bird retrieve some papers from Tina because it's no fair that Tina gets to look at them all by herself and didn't think to bring any copies for anybody else.
Can I see it, please?
I'd like to see them too, Your Honor, to see if that's my signature, if so.
Let me see.
I do not believe in the supposed existence of paper, Your Honor.
It's typed in, signature on file.
Right, that was from...
It's typed in. Hey, get out of here.
You didn't really think his parents named him Coy Witt, did you? No. His name is signature on file. He's from the Connecticut branch of the on file family. His dad's name was addressed on file. His mother's was kept on file, nay Sheminowitz. Judy dismissively has Bird return Tina her papers, and I think she's done entertaining the idea of Tina getting any money. She turns to Coy and asks him why he thinks he deserves anything, especially since he's been living off that on file money his whole life.
Basically, I told her if she wanted to write it, she had to write it at her own risk.
Coy looks a little bit like Kevin from The Office, by which I mean, when you love Coy, you love him at your own risk.
No, just a minute.
No, that wasn't a zombie who's had 4 too many prunes and can't find a public restroom. Those zombies aren't allowed in Judy's courtroom anymore. No, that was Judy, incredulous over the idea that Coy would have said this to Tina, the woman he was dating. Judy continues to theatrically doubt Coy ever said such a thing before asking if after he provided these rudimentary lessons to Tina, he felt comfortable with her on his bike.
I still not felt...
Oh, good, you didn't feel comfortable?
I still not felt comfortable indeed. He again says that despite his not comfort, he let her ride it after telling her she did so at her own risk. She just had to scroll down and pretend to read some stuff and then click the little box that says I agree and then hit OK.
Did those words ever pass his lips?
No, ma'am.
Of course not.
We come back from a break with Judy saying that Tina was foolish for getting on and riding a bike that she didn't know how to ride. I would argue that riding a motorcycle, even with training, is foolish too. And annoying. And loud. And stupid. And I wish people would stop.
Whenever I drive, I like to drive in something with a lot of metal around me.
I'm pretty sure you've just been hiding some stolen copper inside your Benz, but yeah, sure, whatever, Judy. Judy dismisses both their claims and calls them both fools one more time.
Well, she said she was going to pay for the damages.
Well,
yeah, can someone tell signature on file he's not getting any money for his bike?
Because you both acted like idiots.
In her parting words, Tina shows off a very gnarly scar that takes up a good chunk of one of her legs. She looks like a tree dripping sap, minus the leaves and the bark and some of the other key features commonly associated with trees.
I have to deal with this for the rest of my life because of him. Because he wasn't man enough to tell me, no, Tina, you can't go out on that bike.
Next week on Judge Judy, Coy Witt returns to sue Tina for damaging his bike and his masculinity.
It's him being a pathetic mama's boy.
Now it's time for the part of the pod that matters most. It's time for me to judge Judy. As you may well know, I work off a completely arbitrary system, but it all comes down to this. Did Judy deliver justice? Justice for the people in her court, the people at home, and the people listening now to this podcast decades later. If she did, she's innocent. If not, she's guilty. I'll quickly cover my take on case 2. I think Judy got the ruling right, though I also think she could have gone in Tina's favor, both because Coy is a ridiculous name and because his bike caused her to injure herself. I thought the judge's point about Tina's job requiring her to be responsible, that should be responsible all facets, that whole thing was annoying, but it was nothing to really get too riled up about. So back to case number 1. This was definitely about more than money. While Michelle and her husband weren't suing to get all their gifts returned, it's hard not to factor them in when considering Stephen's stance on the money he also received from them. If we take at face value the fact that they were plying him with gift after gift after gift, something that Michelle never tried to refute, then you could perhaps see someone believing that the money they received was just another gift. They didn't expect him to return the clothes or the CDs. Why should he return the money? Now, I don't know if Michelle or her husband were interested romantically in Stephen, as he claimed, but I do know that their behavior wasn't normal. Judy kept saying it was unusual and strange that he had to break up with them at the Del Taco, And that is definitely kind of weird, but the whole situation was weird. How many waiters have your phone number? How many waiters do you invite to an aquarium? Was he telling the truth? Was she telling the truth? I'd venture to say that neither of them were being 100% honest. In the end, Judy got so fed up with Steve and Zach that she sided with Michelle, and that's fine. I won't begrudge how Judy read these two personalities. But that doesn't change the fact that their arrangement was strange. And despite all the two had to say, we'll never learn the true intentions of either Michelle or Steven. With all that said, today, Judy's innocent. With that noise, it's time for Hangman. But this isn't the Hangman you played as a kid when you really ought to have been cleaning out the gutters. No, this is Hangman with stakes. And this week, we're putting the caps lock key up on the gallows. Now, long reviled for being accidentally hit and almost never being useful, the caps lock key is perhaps the least beloved of all the keys on the keyboard, tilde notwithstanding. Still, nothing beats the caps lock key if you've got a lot of things to yell about and don't want to hold down the shift key. And if I win, the caps lock key will still be an option. However, if I lose, all your angry internet rants are going to be made ever so slightly harder because the caps lock key will disappear. In its place, I'm thinking we might put a Citibank ATM. Location, location, location. As always, I'm using hangmanwords.com, and this week I'm gonna try their science words list. And as a reminder, I can make 6 incorrect guesses, 6 letters that aren't in the word until I lose. And finally, this is an audio medium, deal with it. All right, so we're looking at a 2-word answer. The first word is 9 letters, and the second word is 7 letters. And as a reminder, we're on the science words list. So this is probably gonna be someone's name, just because both of the words are so long. I'm gonna start in honor of the word name with the letter N. There's no N, bit of a surprise. So I have 5 more incorrect guesses and my hangman has a head. Because that went so well, I'm gonna go with the second letter, name, A. There's one A, the penultimate letter in the first word. Rather than saying the word blank a bunch of times, I'll just say there's one A and like 45 blanks still. So I'm gonna keep it going because this is working out great so far. And it's kind of very scientific. I have a very scientific process for this. With the letter M, the third letter in name, there's one M. It's the first letter and it is not capitalized. So maybe this isn't a name. Let's keep it going with E. There's one E, it's the 4th letter. So I have M blank blank E blank 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 A blank space blank 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 blank. Let's try S, as in surely there's at least one S in this. There's not. So I have a torso on my hangman and 4 more incorrect guesses available to me. Let's go with O, as in oh boy, I don't think I'm gonna be able to get this. There are 2 O's. No, there are 3 O's. M-O blank E blank 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 A blank space blank blank O blank O blank blank. All right. Let's try T, as in there better be a T in this. No, there isn't. Wow. Okay. Let's go back to the vowels. Let's go with I. There's one I. This is not really helping, but maybe that second word is bio. So it's M-O blank E blank 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 A blank space blank I-O blank O blank blank. Let's see if that last word is bio. It is, but only one. Okay, so let's go with G. All right, so the second word is biology. L. Okay, so it's molecular biology. C-U-R-Y. I did it. I solved science. I discovered molecular biology. You're welcome, everybody. And now you can keep using your caps lock key. It's amazing what science can do. You know what? I think we should all get behind science. I think we should stop drinking colloidal silver and spraying our buttholes with horse tranquilizer. That's not gonna work, guys. What are you doing? Play hangman, save the caps lock key, believe in science. You're welcome. With our last few moments together, I wanted to share an out of context quote from Judge Judy. Limousine liberals. Limousine liberals. That's it. Fornicate, share, like, and subscribe. But whatever you do, don't send your waiter an umbrella.